Hello, my name's Nicola White and I'm the Assistant Head Teacher here at Woodland School, responsible for teaching and learning. And thank you for joining us this evening. The purpose of this evening is to share with you details of a new homework programme that we are going to be launching in January 2021 called Raw Knowledge. And hopefully you've had the opportunity today to view the presentation that we posted on our website, which gives a few details of these programmes. So it talks about kind of the purpose of it, the thinking behind it, and also what our pupils and our parents need to do to ensure that this will be a success. And really the purpose of this live feed this evening is just to take any questions that you may have. So please feel free to comment with any questions that you have, having watched the presentation earlier. Do excuse me, I may be looking at the screen to see what questions are coming in, and then hopefully I will be able to answer them. So just to talk a little bit more generally about what we're trying to achieve here with regards to teaching and learning. We want all of our pupils at Woodlands to master their learning. So we want them to adapt or adopt mastery. And we have worked hard to kind of define what mastery might mean. So, and what we mean by that is we want pupils to be able to acquire knowledge and acquire skills, but then apply them in increasingly difficult ways, because we feel that our students are very good at remembering information on the whole, but when they get to exam situations or when they're asked to apply that, they can sometimes struggle. So we're looking to try to improve that, and that involves encouraging our pupils to develop higher order thinking skills. So you may have seen from the presentation that we say that there are kind of 3 stages to mastery. So the first stage is obviously they acquire knowledge, or they learn facts, they learn a skill. And then at the foundation level, they start to be able to apply that. So they're able to use what they know to answer questions. As we build it up, so as we go to the developmental stage, they start to be able to link together what they have learned. So not just consider one fact or one piece of knowledge, but link it together to try to answer questions. And then finally, at the very top end, our embedded stage, they're able to do all of this and they're able to do it independently. So that's kind of our long-term goal with regards to where we want our pupils to be, because we feel that their skills are not just necessary for success in their exams, but also for success later on. But the core of all this is being able to have a good memory, because it's all very well saying that we want them to develop these higher order thinking skills, but that's no good if they haven't got the memory to remember the knowledge in the first instance. And that's really where our homework programme comes in. What we're trying to aim to achieve at Woodlands is we want to move towards a thinking school model that kind of encourages pupils to develop their long-term memory. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but the way that memory works is you are taught something and generally it goes into your short-term memory. And your short-term memory can only hold a couple of pieces of information, and then it just disappears. So I know certainly if someone tells me a phone number, I might remember it in the first instance, but give it 5 minutes and it disappears completely. And actually things are only ever learned once that knowledge is transferred from someone's short-term memory to their long-term memory. And that only happens through really repetition. So we're trying to ensure at Woodlands that we are providing opportunities for our pupils to be able to transfer the knowledge from their working memory into their long-term memory. And this homework programme is going to be one key feature of that. And as I said, we've been working to develop a thinking school model that we've kind of, and there's 3 waves to that. So already all of our lessons at Woodlands begin with a memory retrieval starter activity. And what that means is pupils are tested on their prior understanding. And what we're working to achieve is that they're not only asked on content that they may have been taught the lesson before, but perhaps the term before, or sometimes even the year before, because we want them to be continually quizzed, low stakes quizzing, so not too much pressure, but low stakes quizzing to ensure that content goes into their long-term memory. So one wave was to ensure that all lessons begin with a memory starter activity. Secondly, we've changed the way pupils are assessed here. So every assessment they have will now test their cumulative understanding. So again, not just testing what they've been taught in the previous lesson or the previous topic, but everything they've learned across their Key Stage 3 course or across their Key Stage 4 course. And really the homework programme is the complements all of this. And the homework programme is quite revolutionary. Now, we're calling the homework programme Raw Knowledge, and that stands for Retrieval at Woodlands. And the base of all homework is going to be this programme, Raw Knowledge. Now, we have been working, and we're lucky enough to work with a company called Tassamai, and I know already that some parents will be familiar with Tassamai because Tassamai is a science quizzing programme. It was set up by a science teacher about 10 years ago, and we use it for GCSE students, and actually it's very, very popular with our Key Stage 4 pupils already. And we approached Tassamai to ask if they would extend their offering across other subjects. We were really keen on what we were looking for in terms of the programme we wanted to offer our pupils, because we wanted something that was personalised to ensure that not all pupils received the same questions, and that actually the questions that they received were targeted to their individual needs. So we thought that was important. We wanted something that spaced when the questions were being asked. So if a pupil was particularly strong in an area, they wouldn't be asked those questions so frequently, but equally in the subjects which they struggled with, they were asked those questions more frequently. And actually there wasn't a programme that existed across all subjects. So when we approached Tassamai, we agreed to work with them. So we are trialling something here that isn't being done in any other country across the school. And Woodlands staff have worked hard to write the questions for this programme across all subjects, which is really, really good, because it means that the content that pupils will be quizzed on are completely bespoke to what they have been taught. And the way this will work is that all pupils will be using this homework quizzing programme every day as part of their homework. Now, this, as I said, is the minimum homework expectation. Some subjects may choose to set additional homework. Certainly creative subjects such as art, PE, technology, they may need to set other pieces. And equally, obviously, as pupils progress through the school, it may be necessary that they're set English essays or history essays or things that will develop their skill. But as a basis, they will be doing this quizzing programme. And what we're going to set them is we're going to ask them to complete 3 daily goals. Now, each of their goals relates to a different collection of subjects. So they'll have a daily goal from bucket 1. So that will be about 20 to 30 questions made up from maths and English. And the focus will be on the subject they struggle with the most. So if they struggle with maths, they'll have more maths questions than English questions. There will be some questions from bucket 2. So that's our science, it's our humanities, it's our language subjects. So again, they'll have to achieve between 20 and 30 questions correctly from that bucket. And then all of the other subjects fall into bucket 3. So they'll be asked to answer 20 to 30 questions correctly in those buckets. And that will be a daily target. And as I said, those of you familiar with Tassamai will know how that works a little bit. Just looking, we've got a question here. So what happens to children who do not complete or log onto the site? Also, how long should the 60 to 90 questions take every day? With regards to pupils who don't log on and aren't active, we are going to be looking at both a reward and a sanction system. It should happen, and we're just kind of designing this at the moment, because obviously because of COVID and bubbling, it is going to be the case probably that when we launch in January, from January to February, we're just going to get all pupils on it, engaged in it, working out how it works before we necessarily bring in the sanctions and the reward system straight away. In terms of logging on, if there's issues with logging in, obviously with this week we have set all pupils in school the opportunity to log in, and we've also set it remotely because we know there are a lot of people self-isolating or not in school, but we are prepared when they return to mop them up to ensure that they can access it, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. As I said, when we kind of get into it and pupils know how to access and log in, then we will be looking at a kind of reward and sanction system, because all the science suggests this is the best way for pupils to learn. So we really want to push this, and we feel that if we're consistent across all subjects, so all pupils know that that is the kind of minimum homework they're doing, and once they start doing it, they can see the impact that has. They too will see the kind of beneficial impact it can have on their learning. Also, how long should the 60 to 90 questions take every day? They are multiple choice questions, so they shouldn't take too long. They are quite quick. Obviously, they've just got to pick the right one and then they move on. I suspect it will take longer in the first instance because pupils are obviously getting used to the programme, but it will certainly become quicker as we go because the algorithm behind the programme identifies, it gives every question a difficulty rating. So the more the pupil engages in the programme, it works out their ability, so it will target them with questions that is suited to their ability. So it shouldn't take an awful long time. I mean, I would imagine less than a minute per question, significantly less than a minute per question. But as I said, it will depend on the individual. And I do suspect it will take longer in the first instance because pupils will obviously be getting used to the programme. But as I said, the more the pupil engages with the programme, the cleverer the programme will become, and they'll be able to work out the ability of the pupil and therefore pose them with questions matched to their ability. So that obviously there's still a level of challenge, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So it shouldn't take them too much time once they get going. So I hope that answers that question. As I said, please feel free to keep coming with your questions, and I will try to answer them as best I can. Obviously, it is a little bit more difficult at the moment because we have got a number of pupils that aren't on site. But as I said, we are making provisions to support them when they return, to help them log in and have a go, really. But as I said, immediately after January, when we return, we will all be engaging with this programme. But we are aware, because of the situation, it might take at least that half term just to get into the swing of things before we introduce any formal kind of rewards or sanction systems. So with regards to, as I said, the way that this is going to work, they've got their 3 daily targets, one from each bucket. They are able to exceed. So once they hit their 20 or 30 questions, and the reason I've said 20 to 30 questions is that is a little bit fluid at the moment. It may be that we have different amounts of questions for different year groups. Obviously, we need to trial this and see how it goes and see how long it does take pupils to complete. Obviously, if it's too long, we'll have to put it down, or if it's too quick, we might up the target. But given that we're the first school in the country to trial this, we are going to have a period where we're just kind of working things out. But as I said, so that is slightly fluid, but they'll be asked to complete their 3 daily targets every day. As I was mentioning, if they exceed those targets, so if they do them really, really quickly, they are able to go on and answer more questions. So the algorithm will continue to select questions for them based on their areas of need. However, if they want to, once they've exceeded their daily goal, they can go on and pick specific quizzes if they would prefer, because obviously anything extra they do is a bonus. So if they've got a real liking for science and they've done their daily target, which is personalised to their needs, but they want to go on and do more, they can go on and do another science quiz if that's what they choose to do. So that option is there for them. The kind of designers behind the programme have got kind of computer programming backgrounds. So they have designed it so they've got XP levels, and depending on how many questions they get, they achieve different levels. So it is kind of designed for a teenage market, and hopefully they will develop that kind of competition amongst them, because they want to get to the next level. I know certainly when pupils have done it in year 11, they really like it. They feel it really helps with their knowledge. And not only that, but obviously we receive data then on every pupil, so we know what are their areas of strength and what are their areas of improvement, and we can use that information diagnostically to plan lessons. Let's have a look. Will the quiz reminder still be added to Satchel every day? Certainly for this academic year, it will be. So it will go on there to say that they've got to do that. Although eventually we are going to move over to a system whereby all of the homework is done by raw knowledge. As I said, if additional pieces are set, it may be the case that we continue to use Teams to set that work on, because obviously a lot of our pupils now have become very skilled in using Microsoft Teams, and that is a program and a platform that we have. So obviously, depending on how this goes, it will move over to just raw knowledge with Tassami and Microsoft Teams, and we won't necessarily need that Satchel program anymore, because Microsoft Teams will fulfill that function. So thank you for that question. As I said, if you've got any other questions, please feel free to let us know, and we'll see if we can answer them. We are, as a staff body, really excited about this. We carried out quite a lot of research as a staff body before coronavirus hit us, and we looked at the science behind learning, and we looked at how pupils developing their confidence and how they really go on and achieve those top grades. And it did seem that long-term memory was key to all of this. You will probably be aware that the government reformed GCSEs a couple of years ago, and they are a lot more content heavy, so pupils are required to remember a lot more knowledge, and we want to support them with that. As I said, we're trying to do that via our memory retrieval starters and our assessments, but we feel like homework could be another route in. I think as well, the way this programme works, pupils can go on and see how they're performing. So what actually happens is for each course they follow, so for each subject they follow, they have a tree develops. So, and as they become more and more competent in the subject, they get more branches and more leaves. It looks really, really good when you see it visually. So obviously, the bigger the tree, the greener the leaves, the better that they're doing in that course subject. So that's really, really positive. But it also, what that also means is pupils can go on and have a look at the areas in which they need to work more on. So it's really good for their metacognitive skills, because they're developing their ability to be learners themselves, which again is a really, really good skill for them later in life. So this is the question. I've got another question saying, are the questions just based on GCSEs? No. So we have got both a Key Stage 3 course and a Key Stage 4 course. So we will have a course for Year 7 and 8 pupils, and we'll have a course for Year 9, 10 and 11 pupils. And what will happen, because we do, as I said, want to improve long-term memory. So what will happen is in Year 7, if you're doing the Key Stage 3 course, I'm a history teacher, so I'll give an example from history. When Year 7 pupils start, they start by learning about the Battle of Hastings and the Norman Conquest, and that is their first half term's learning. So the questions for that half term will be turned on, and they'll only get asked questions on that topic. Then as they progress through the year, what will happen is they'll be exposed to more and more questions. So as they work through their content, the possible questions that they could be asked grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And it still goes over the material that they've learned at the start of the year, but it builds up. So it builds up cumulatively. And that will work through their whole Key Stage 3 course. So what that means is by the time they get to the end of Year 8, they will be recapping material that they started on in Year 7. Because what we have found previously is where we've moved through topic at a time, when they get to the end of Year 8, they've completely forgotten everything they've done in Year 7. And actually, when you get to GCSE, that becomes a problem, because what you don't want to do is get to the end of Year 11 and think, oh, I've forgotten everything I've learned in Year 9. I now need to start again and reteach myself. So the idea that this kind of little and often quizzing, this little and often revision will really help them. And it will also mean that by the time they get to the end of the Year 11, they haven't got that mountain of revision to face, because that's not healthy for them. It's not good. We'd rather them be building that time in throughout their Key Stage 3 and their Key Stage 4 study to ensure they're as prepared as possible by the time they get to the end of the course. Okay, so it says, if a child struggles so much that they cannot reach their daily goal, how soon would the teacher inform the parents and step in and help? Also, has the algorithms ever been tested on a child? Okay, so firstly, with regards to parental contact, when we sign up to via Tassimo after January, parents will receive weekly emails saying how their pupil is doing. So parents will be informed how their child is doing. So parents will be informed of the progress their child is making. Equally, there will be a parent login. So you will be able to log in and see the areas in which your child is doing very well, the areas perhaps they need a little bit more support. So we will ensure that you are always kept in the loop. Obviously, us as teachers, we will get data for our classes. So we will know if there is a pupil who are struggling particularly, and then we'll help to try to provide them with some intervention. So we'll be able to download that data straight away. And teachers will be using that data because they'll be using it anyway to inform their planning. So we will be on that straight away. And obviously, if we've got any concerns, we will contact you as soon as possible. Someone has answered there about algorithms being tested on pupils with SEND needs. The science program we have already used. We've used for a couple of years now. So we know that the algorithm definitely works because we've used it. And that's really why we went with Tassimo. So we've had SEND pupils use the science program, and they really enjoy it. It's very low stakes, so there's no high pressure on there, but they feel the sense of achievement because it is targeted to their individual needs. And as I said, because we've used it with science, we're confident that that's going to have a huge success. So that's really positive. Are there any statistics that show the success of this program? It's quite difficult. As I said, we've only used it for science before, so it's only and so it's difficult to see at this stage what impact it's going to have across all of the different subjects, which is why in certain subjects they may wish to sit additional homework because they want to develop their writing skill, etc. In terms of stats, there is a parental clip that I included on the presentation that I sent out earlier, which has got from a parental experience what impact they had. We haven't got anything statistically because I said we've only had it for science, which is why we're kind of quite revolutionary as a school in moving forward. And TAS and I were very, very keen to work with us. And actually, we've already had a lot of schools asking if they can kind of join us and see how we do, because they can already tell that it's going to be hugely successful, because all of the science, all of the educational research suggests that any quizzing programme that is personalised to the needs of the individual allows for spaced retrieval, so allows you to be able to be tested regularly, depending on your areas of needs, and therefore that impacts the frequency of the questions, and interleaving, so combining knowledge that you've learned at different periods, is the way for success. So certainly the educational research suggests they're the three key features that are needed in any successful programme. There should be, sorry, someone's asking about the parental clip. There should be, within the presentation, there should be a link with a lady. She subscribes to it and she talks about the impact that it had on her daughter's grades. So you can see there, just as an example, that was one parent, and that was just for the science programme. So obviously I can't comment on all of the other subjects, but that should be there for that as well. As I say, keep bringing your questions in. We will try to answer as many as we possibly can. I mean, teachers have been working on this for some time, because it's quite big. For every course, so for instance, for GCSE Spanish, there are 1,000 questions that needs to be written. For Key Stage 3 Spanish, there are 1,000 questions that need to be written. And we've gone through quite a rigorous process of quality assurance to ensure that the questions are fit for purpose. And the questions are wide ranging, because there are different kinds of questions. There are the basic, what is the definition questions, the strengths and the weaknesses, benefit, advantages, disadvantages. There's certain questions that put things into chronological order, or in science and geography, the processes, so the different steps of the processes there. In there, maths have used it, so there's all sorts of questions in there. So it says, someone's asked a question, do more practical subjects have questions too, or is this only for traditional academic subjects like history and science? All subjects have questions. So you will have questions from every subject across the school, because in every subject there is a need for some kind of memory retention. Granted, in art or technology, their question banks are slightly smaller, and you may expect them to still set small additional pieces of homework because their question banks are smaller. But we really wanted this to be a whole school push. We wanted all subjects to get on board with it, and we wanted it to be consistent. We wanted the message to be clear to our pupils that that is first and foremost the way that your homework will be set. That is what you will be doing for homework, because we want to, as I said, build in that memory retrieval little and often, building up the necessary study skills that they will need, not only at Woodlands, but also in later life. So in response to that question, yes, they will be in practical subjects as well. I know PE have worked hard to get some questions on there. So there will be PE questions, technology questions, art questions, drama questions. They're all on there. So every subject will be represented. So worry not about that. It's not just the academic subjects, but a bit of everything. As I said, if you've got any other questions, please feel free to ask. Hopefully you were able to have a look at the presentation that was on our website earlier. It does talk through the kind of basics of this, but as I said, if there was anything that wasn't covered, please feel free to let us know. I appreciate we have worked hard as a school to ensure that there are no obstacles for pupils to be able to engage in this. We appreciate that it may be difficult at home, because it may be that some pupils haven't got access to a device, but there is an app for this, so pupils can download it. They can do it on their mobile phone, they can do it on their tablet, obviously a laptop at home. We will make sure, and we will in January make sure that we've got ICT facilities available every day for every year group. So if they want to, they can come in at lunchtime and do it. If they'd rather do it that way, that's absolutely fine. But we do want to make it clear that if there are any families out there that feel like ICT access is going to be a problem, please feel free to contact the school. If you email Mr. Curtis, and his staff initials are tcu@woodlandschool.essex.sch.uk, we will do our best to try to help you. Let's have a look at the next question. So the next question, thanks. Also, how do you stop pupils memorising answers and rushing through questions without thinking? Well, with regards to the daily target says that they have to achieve between 20 and 30 questions correctly. So it's not just a case of click anything and push through. They do have to get it correctly to be able to achieve their daily goal. The other thing, the question banks are vast, and they're quite clever, because the way they work, the way that we've formed these questions, is we've put kind of a question base in, and then it produces 8 questions on the same topic, but they're worded slightly differently. So it's very, very unlikely that they're going to get exactly the same question, because as we said, it is worded differently. And that was really the purpose behind this, because we want pupils to be able to recognise that even if the question is unfamiliar or is something that they've not encountered before, they have got the knowledge and they've just got to select it from their long-term memory. So it might appear different to them, but they do know it. And we want pupils to be comfortable with sometimes being presented with unfamiliar questions. So it is unlikely that they're going to be able to memorise every answer, because there is an awful lot on there. Obviously, the way the programme will work as well will mean that if pupils are scoring highly, so for instance, in bucket 2, that's my bucket, you're going to have geography, history, your languages and your science. If a pupil had their history questions and they kept getting them right all of the time, the rate or the frequency at which they'd receive history questions moving forward would be less, because the programme would work out that actually they're very strong in that subject, but perhaps they need more time in science or languages. So they would get more science and language questions and less of the history questions. Because as I said, the programme is really, really clever in identifying what a pupil's strengths are and what a pupil's areas for improvement is. And they will pose the question queue according to that need. So it's unlikely that they'll be able to just memorise it, although I would be very impressed. Their long-term memory would be very good if they were able to do that. Next question, have Year 7 been issued username and passwords this week? So the way we'd planned for this week to happen was that all Year 7 and Year 8 pupils in their ICT lesson were going to log into Tassomai and sign up to their classes. So in their ICT lesson, we've gone in, we've showed them how to log in, we've asked them to select a username, and just for you parents' information, the username is their school email address, and we've asked them to select a password. We did provide them with little cards to write their username and password on, and we also told them to take a photograph of it with if they've got a camera phone, to ensure that that didn't get lost. And then we gave them the opportunity to log in and, using their timetable, sign up to their classes. The same was true for Year 9, 10 and 11. They were due to use their PSHRE lessons. Now, obviously, we are aware there are a number of pupils who are not in school or who are self-isolating at the moment. So either their ICT teacher, if you're Year 7 and 8, or their PSHRE teacher, if they were 9, 10 and 11, have set that task with the necessary video tutorials for them to complete on Teams. However, we are aware that there are probably going to be a number of pupils who won't be able to do that for whatever reason. So we will, when all pupils return, ensure that we catch up with them to ensure they're logged on before January. If, as parents, you ever have any issues, your child gets home, they can't remember their login, please feel free to email Home Learning Support at woodlandschool.essex.sch.uk, and we can get that reset for you. The process is slightly long because they have to log in and they have to manually go on and sign up to each of their classes. So we did try to protect them some time in lesson to be able to do that. But obviously, if any pupils aren't signed up, we will be making sure that we kind of help them before we launch with that in January. But as I said, they are able to, once they can remember their details, they can go on and they can change their password if they want at any later point. But they should have their card with the details on, and there should be a picture on their phone somewhere. We do have, if you have a child who's Year 7 and haven't done that yet, it may be that they've got their lesson tomorrow. And actually what we've decided tomorrow to do is we will be using tutor time tomorrow to support them with that as well, because we know obviously logging on can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge, but it just gives them the opportunity to familiarise themselves with the programme. As I said, please feel free to keep sending in any questions that you may have. And thank you for your support tonight in joining us. I'm sure your children are delighted that you're learning about their homework programme moving forward. I'm sure they'll thank me for that. But as I said, any other questions, please feel free to ask. I have already mentioned it, but once we go live in January, parents will be able to get the app, so they'll be able to download an app so they can see their child's progress in the subjects, and they will receive weekly emails saying how many of their daily targets they've achieved, which buckets they're stronger in, which buckets they might need a bit of support in, just so you really can be aware as well of their areas that they're doing well in and the areas that they need a little bit more support in. Okay, so someone's asked a question, will all exam papers be multiple choice as they are being programmed to use multiple choice? So On TASMI, it is just multiple choice. Obviously, the exams that they do at the end of year 11 aren't always multiple choice. Which is why, particularly in GCSE, there may be additional homework set to be able to enable them to apply their knowledge. But what we've found and what we kind of research suggests is it's all very well us teaching them how to apply their knowledge, but it's no use if they haven't got any knowledge in the first instance. So it's really important that we're developing this knowledge and ensuring it goes into their long-term memory. Certainly when I tell my pupils to revise, we often get the question, how do you revise? And really, how do you revise? You need to learn your content first, and then you can apply it to exam questions. But without the content, that's very, very difficult. So this programme kind of strives to kind of deal with that content. That little and often would hopefully mean that knowledge is already there. So actually, when they get to the point before their GCSEs, that revision period, they should have the knowledge. It should be then just about practising the exam skill. So practising exam papers at home. But we don't want them to get to the end of year 11 and think, I've got to reteach myself all of it because I last did this in year 9. I can't remember any of the content. Spend lots and lots of hours remembering all the content or reteaching themselves the content, and then not having enough time to apply their knowledge. And I know certainly when pupils get to the end of year 11 and we're at that revision stage, the best thing for us to do as teachers is keep setting them practice questions so we can give them feedback. But obviously, if they haven't got that knowledge, they're kind of behind a stage. They need to do that before they can apply it, and we can give them feedback on their exam skill. So in response to your question, they are only multiple choice because it's only dealing with the content side of it. But that is essential for them to be able to apply it, which is why certain subjects, as I said, at GCSE may be setting additional exam practice to be able to give them the opportunity to apply their skill. So hopefully that answers that question. Please, as I said, feel free to keep coming with questions if you've still got some. It's nice to be able to kind of share what we're trying to achieve here. I know as a staff body, we were really excited when we did our research back in March time. And then, as I said, when we kind of found TASMI and we started designing this project, we are really, really excited about it. And I know already some of the pupils have been asking about it, particularly our GCSE pupils. They already know how it works because they do it for science. And I actually had one pupil the other day said, can't we start quizzing already? They want to get going with all of their subjects. So hopefully they'll see the beneficial impact, but also kind of enjoy it and engage in it as well, because it's low stakes. Hopefully they don't feel too much pressure if they get it wrong, but it does just support them in understanding what they need to spend a little bit more time on. And that's really the purpose of this. So any more questions, please feel free to let me know and we'll see what we can do. We've got a bit of a quiet time at the moment, so hopefully many of your questions will have been answered either by the presentation or by this session now. We'll probably be going for another kind of 10 more minutes, so if you have got any questions, please feel free to let us know. As I said, pupils did receive an assembly first and foremost this week, talking about kind of how the brain works and how the memory works, so that we could kind of stress to them why we think this programme will work and why we think this is going to really support them with their long-term memory. So yeah, someone says shame is only coming in, our exams are just around the corner. Yes, we agree. As I said, we had hoped that we would be able to get it out to start in September. That was our initial hope, but obviously COVID and lockdown scarpered our plans a little bit, so we didn't quite get there, but we are back on track. I do agree, we are very excited about it, and we wish that we had been able to start it in September too. Fingers crossed though, because particularly with year 11, they know how it works, they'll be able to get on it straight away. Where is the presentation posted? So on our website, there should be a red banner that runs along the bottom, and if you click through to that, there will have been the link to tonight's live Q&A, but there will be a presentation above, a YouTube presentation that will just play for you to watch first and foremost. So a lot of the information should be there. But obviously, if you've got any questions or if you can't access that, please always feel free to contact me. My staff initial is nwh@woodlandschool.essex.sch.uk. So as I said, if you've got any other questions or you're struggling to access that presentation, I'm more than happy to send that link to you separately. Equally, when your child starts engaging in the programme, if there are any issues there, please feel free to contact me and we will obviously help you as soon as we can. So someone's asked, Can pupils complete questions on the school's computer? Maybe not with the current situation. Yeah, yes, they can. Obviously, it is a home learning programme, but as I mentioned earlier, we are going to ensure that we have got ICT facilities. Obviously, at the moment, they'd have to be bubbled, so there'll be one place for year 7s to go at lunchtime if they want to do it there, one place for year 8, 9, 10 and 11, but we will be ensuring that we've got those facilities available should the pupils want to come at lunchtime or after school. But yes, 100%, they're more than welcome to complete them on our school computers. That's absolutely fine. In fact, we would welcome them to do that. I know particularly when it rains in the winter, quite a lot of them like coming into the library or an ICT suite to get on with that, and that's absolutely fine. We would positively encourage that if pupils chose to do that. So yes, 100% will ensure that schools' computers are available if they want to do that in any of their free time. That is absolutely fine. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I can't stress how excited we are really about launching this. We're excited to see the impact. We want all pupils to be doing it consistently, and I think actually with the 3 daily goals every day, hopefully they'll get into the habit of doing that. They know they've got to go on, they know they've got to complete those questions, and hopefully they will see as well the areas that they need to work on. And the hope would be really that they would go on and independently look at those areas that they're struggling with. There is a function, and we're not 100% sure how we're going to use it at the moment because we're going to see how pupils get on with the programme. But there is a function that if pupils achieve their daily target or exceed their daily targets can be reduced. Now, when I spoke to the designers behind this programme, they said that was a really good incentive for pupils because they said if they're exceeding what they need to do, if they then reduce their daily target, they see that as kind of motivation to do that. So I kind of questioned that and said, well, does that mean that they do less questions? And they said no. They said they love it so much, they get so engaged, they actually find that they continually exceed it because they get in the routine of doing that. So that's something that's an option that we're obviously going to look at moving forward, but it is a function that we might want to enable depending on how pupils get on. Obviously, the first half term is going to be a bit of a test for us. I'm sure that there will be a few issues along the way that we'll have to iron out, but that's why we wanted to leave that first half term kind of just as a trial, just to get everyone on, ensuring all pupils are using it, they know how to use it before we kind of are a little bit more prescriptive in exactly how it's going to work. So we just want all our pupils to get onto it and start engaging with it, and then we'll work out the finer issues after, just depending obviously logistical issues moving forward. So we're just going to be our last couple of minutes on here, so if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask us now. It seems like everyone seems to be really, really positive about it. We, as I said, think the long-term memory is key. I know, having taught year 11s for many, many years, revision at the end of year 11 is a very, very stressful time. And despite us telling pupils many, many times, don't leave revision to the last minute, they always do. So we're hoping actually this homework programme will ensure that that revision process is forced to start much earlier, so they won't be in a position of panic at the end of year 11 because they will have that knowledge in their long-term memory. And as I said, we can just as staff then give them diagnostic feedback as to how they need to apply that, and that really does help them in that exam, giving them those opportunities to use the knowledge they have in unique contexts or in unusual circumstances. That makes them much more comfortable and confident. They need to be exposed to that though, and they can only do that when they've got that knowledge. It's that ability to select the right knowledge to answer the question, because I know when I mark pupils' work, sometimes it says a topic and they just write everything they know rather than having the skill to select it. And that sometimes is because they're revised at the last minute and they just remembering everything they know about World War I or World War II. But actually, if they know that already and we've developed their ability to answer and select relevant information, that's obviously much easier. It's clear. Yes, it will be set as a specific task, and this one isn't optional. The quizzing is completely optional, and additional tasks will be set as compulsory tasks. So there isn't really any optional. The only optional element to this is if you want to do more than your daily target. There isn't any other options available. That is all. And as I said, we will reinforce this. Once we have that first half term, we will be reinforcing this, and we will have obviously a reward system in place, and we will have a sanction system in place for people who are consistently not meeting their daily targets. Because by that point, kind of 6 to 8 weeks in, the pupil should have had enough quizzing for the programme to know their strengths and areas for improvement. So the questions that they are posed with should be targeted at them according to their ability. So they should be accessible to them. Obviously, if pupils are struggling, they only need to let us know and we'll put the support in place for them, but they should be suited to their ability. So it shouldn't be that they're too difficult, but that isn't optional. They are compulsory to achieve those 3 daily targets, and we will be very firm in ensuring that pupils are aware of that. As I said, the only optional is if they want to do more, and I won't punish them for that. They can carry on doing more if they want to. Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of the questions now. As I said, we have put that presentation on the website if you follow the red banner at the bottom. And as I said, and then this will be recorded. So the questions, if you missed the first half, any questions that were asked will be answered, and you'll be able to play that recording. But just to repeat, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me at nwh@woodlandschool.essex.sch.uk. I just want to thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your support. It really, really helps us when parents are behind their children, pushing them to kind of develop the skills that we need to ensure that they're successful here at Woodlands in their exams, but also in later life. Thank you for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.